Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to our Charmed Midlife. This is kind of a one-off little video that we feel is timely in a couple of ways. One, because I just applied for the DAS Pass for the first time since the new rules, and I was denied. So we're going to talk about that, and because of this new multi-lane Premier Pass and things like that. So we're going to kind of clump all that together and talk about it. So,
and we just got back from the park today.
Yes.
And we got to experience it without having the DAS Pass for the first time in a long time, and
yes,
how it impacted our day.
Yes. So there will be an Epcot video coming out. We John had some more Food and Wine Festival foods, so that's going to be coming out soon. My hair's like flipped up like it's 1965, and I don't know why it's doing it, so excuse that. It was very windy in the park today, but it was gorgeous, and I think that's what's happening. Okay, enough about that. Okay, so let's give I'm going to give a little background on the whole DAS Pass sitch. So we are California people. We did Disneyland, and we would always use Max Pass there for the few years that we lived there and were going to Disneyland. So we never had to wait in lines there because we were able to buy Max Pass with our annual passes. And so we just would go into the parks and we would choose our whatever attraction we wanted to do
our thing.
And we go.
Yep.
So that was perfect. So then, of course, there were the shutdowns, and then that's when we moved here. 2 years ago we moved here. And I think we went to the park once or twice, and my recollection is we went on Little Mermaid in Magic Kingdom. And the Little Mermaid in Disney California Adventure in California is like one of our favorite rides for whatever reason. It was one of those things that we started, like, it was like every time we went to the park, we always rode it.
It was a tradition for us. It was very simple and easy to get on, and a simple ride, and I'm not a big wild ride rider, so that's how we started. So
when we got here, we were at Magic Kingdom. It was like, oh, let's go ride Little Mermaid. The queue for Little Mermaid is very, very different here. It's like you're in the mountain, and it was the first time where I started to feel very claustrophobic and started to realize that I'm going to have a problem waiting in lines.
The queue is crazy long.
And if you remember when the parks when they came back, or a couple years ago, we didn't have the Genie Plus, wasn't set up yet. There was like the Fast Pass had gone, like all that stuff. So this was kind of in that middle times where it was like, I'm not going to be able to ride anything because I can't wait in these queues.
There was nothing.
So that's when I first learned about this DAS Pass. And for those who don't know, it's Disney's Disability Access System Pass. And so before you could sign up, I've always signed up online. I think you were able to get the pass for 60 days. It might have been 90 days. And so every 90 days I had to keep calling in and getting a renewal. And I didn't do this consistently. It was really only during the winter months because we don't go in the summer. And it was really only, it would expire because we had no desire. And then I'd go a month or whatever. And then I'd call again, and knowing that I was going to go, or maybe my parents were going with us and we might have a reason to ride an attraction. So it worked beautifully. It was very nice. I would call and I would just say, look, I'm autistic. I am very claustrophobic. Being surrounded by all those people in the queues, I would explain that I get very hot and can't regulate my body temperature. I would explain that there were sensory issues. So again, the loudness, the smells, all of that of being trapped by people in the queues. And they would give me the desk pass. And honestly, I didn't even have to say that. After the first time of calling, when you would call back, they would just go, "Do you still need the pass for the same reasons?" And I would say yes, and they would give me the pass.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We didn't use it all the time. But it was this thing where whenever we went to the parks, because I'm more of an attraction person than he is, we would go to the parks. I would always pull up the Dash Pass thing on the app. I would see if there was anything available in the next hour or two. Maybe I would put it in. And it always depended on if we were in the mood. If we went and ate, then afterwards I would go, "Look, we have a thing in 5 minutes," and then we'd both be like, "Oh, we're full. We don't want to go eat. We don't want to go ride it." Like, it was just an option that we always had when we were in the parks. We didn't always use it. Let me explain how the Dash Pass works. You don't get to skip the line. So if we walked into Magic Kingdom and we want to ride Jungle Cruise, and it has a 60-minute wait, I would, on the app, I would choose Jungle Cruise, and it would say, go to the line, it's in 60 minutes. And so we would have to wait the 60 minutes just as if we were in the standby line. But then after 60 minutes, we would go to the Lightning Lane entrance and be able to then bypass the standby line.
Yeah.
But we've already waited in that line technically for the 60 minutes.
We waited to get on the ride for 60 minutes.
Right. And I can't do this for another ride until we've ridden that ride. Then I can go, okay, what else could we do? And if it's another hour, we have to wait another hour. So I'm not able to just bing, bang, boom and ride rides. It's the same amount of time as anyone else in the park. It's just that I don't have to physically stand in the queue, and we can go through the Lightning Lane entrance.
Which, to be clear, was the hard part. That's exactly what this is intended to do. It's not to give you the ability to just go from ride to ride and cut in line and
like an express pass
go to the
or
front. It's not that. It's just so the person who has sensory issues or anxiety doesn't have to be around people.
And let me tell you, I learned that there were many queues that I didn't like even going through there. It was still some of them, like the Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway, would still spit us out in the queue, and then the group of people for that pre-show. And I'd rather skip all of that because I don't want to be around all those people. Yeah. The Guardians Cosmic Rewind, horrible. Hated that queue. Yeah. Hated the ride too, but that's a different story.
Fortunately, we'll never have to worry about it because we didn't like the ride, but the queue was terrible too.
So anyway, I had heard over the summer about the changes to what they were accepting for the Dash Pass now. Disney had put this, their foot down. People aren't going to get the Dash Pass if you don't need it, blah, blah, blah. I heard a whole bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think everyone's heard all the denial stories of everyone. And they kept, the new description is it's for cognitive disabilities such as autism. And I kept sitting back going, well, I'm autistic. Let's see what happens when the time comes. I also secretly kept hoping that they were going to change their rules by the time I knew I would want to call, because we don't go in the summer because it is too hot. I can't handle it. So we were having a little cooler spell today, so we knew we were going to want to go to the parks. So on Monday, no, it was Sunday. I called in and did the video chat. It was not the normal question of why can't you stand in the normal queue. It was more of, what issues do you have when you're at the parks? I gave my issues, and she just said, well, the accommodations we can help you with then at the park are the return to line. So basically I could go stand in line. If I started having a problem, then I could leave the line. He could stay. And then when he gets to the front, or if I start to feel better again, I could come back and see him. I immediately burst into tears with this poor girl. I felt bad for her. She obviously isn't the one that makes these decisions, but the thought of having to walk past everyone in line to leave, I would never have made it. I would have a panic meltdown. And that's what I'm trying to avoid is people. and now you want me to walk by them once and then possibly twice to come back. It just wouldn't happen.
It's like they just didn't understand the problem.
I think they don't care. So we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
So the other option was I could go to a cast member at the start of the line, tell her the problem. He could go stand in line. When he gets to the front, he could call me or send me a picture that he's at the front, and then the cast member would walk me to wherever he is. I don't know if that would be going by everyone in the queues or if there's a different way of going in, but going in and eventually meeting him wherever he is at the front.
It's filled with flaws.
Which again, and I've heard these accommodations from other people that they were given the same options. We all know why these don't work. So I don't need to go into that anymore. So of course, this poor girl, I was just a mess and crying because it was like all of a sudden it hit me. I'm not going to be able to do this. And then how are we going to handle being in the parks?
Yeah.
So told him obviously, and we said, well, we could always just do the, not Genie Plus anymore, but the multi-pass. If there were a day we chose that we could say, well, how about this weekend we actually get the multi-pass and we could ride some rides.
Right.
But then I was remembered that, one, when we go to the parks, we maybe are there for 3 hours, 4 hours at the most. We don't last long because, again, I usually hit a wall. He will hit a wall as well.
Yeah.
Of just being around too many people and our senses, we both get overwhelmed.
Yeah, it just gets to be overwhelming fairly fast for us.
Yeah. So if we go in the morning... again, if you're not staying at a Disney hotel visitors can book their multi-lane 7 days in advance. We can only do 3 days in advance if we're not staying at a hotel. So by the time it gets to us, a lot of the major rides are either already booked or the times are later in the day, late afternoon, evening times. Yeah. So if we go in the morning, a multi-pass isn't going to work for us. And I've been testing that out all week to see how that looks. And it's like 3-4 o'clock before any multi-pass options that I can actually book are available. So that would mean we have to go at night, which we're playing around with, and we probably will do that at some point. But again, it's not fair to have to pay another $50, $60 to skip a line when they're supposed to be disability accessible, and it's also illegal to charge disabled people to access things, but we're not going to get into that.
Not yet, anyway.
So then, of course, I'm sure everyone has heard about the announcement yesterday, today. There's the multi-pass, which gets you most rides. There's the single lane pass, which is just the one ride, 2 rides at each park where you have to pay even more, which again, Hollywood Studios, if we bought the multi-pass, now we can't ride Rise of the Resistance. We'd have to buy another, on top of everything, another single lane, which, being our favorite ride, I think that's one of my favorite rides. So now with the Premier Pass, it's a lot like Universal's Express Pass, where you can buy it, and then you can ride any of the Lightning Lane rides, multi-pass rides, whatever you want to call them. You can ride them once per that day that you have the Premier Pass, and you don't have to reserve a time. So you can go and ride them whenever you want. For us, this would be perfect because in our 3 or 4 hours, that would be great. Then the pricing came out. And depending on the park and depending on what day you're going, the cheapest is Animal Kingdom at $129 per person for the day.
For the day.
Magic Kingdom, I think, is the most expensive, starting at $349 and goes up to over $400. So the problem with that, obviously, is just the cost. For us going 3 or 4 hours, just not worth it. Next week we're going to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I'm just going to try and ride as much as I can during that party. Yeah. And we're going to have to try and do things like that, when we can be in different situations. Or if we use our DVC points and we go stay at a hotel, we can do magic morning hours or after hours or whatever. We'll take advantage of those things. So today we did go to Epcot. our first time being there without the STAS pass. I felt it. So at Epcot today, it wasn't in our agenda to ride anything. So we probably wouldn't have. But I've always just liked having the ability to look and see. And if, Soarin's one of his favorite rides. Mm-hmm. I don't like it. I close my eyes the entire time, but I like to make him happy. Yeah. So if we're over there, I always like to look and go, hey, well, maybe in 45 minutes we can book it and then come back and, do that or whatever. Like, it's just something that was always in our back pocket that if we felt like we were able to get onto an attraction, there was that ability. And now it's completely stripped.
Yeah, it's taken all the flexibility out of it. We have to plan everything to the nth degree.
And Epcot is the easiest one there is, right? Because there's hardly any rides. But Spaceship Earth today was 25 minutes. I won't wait in anything longer than 10 minutes. And depending on the queue, I might not even wait in it at all, because some of them, that are so close and just back and forth, I just can't do. But like if we go to Magic Kingdom, which is just all attractions, Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if we just go and we have lunch or dinner, but you also want to jump on something. You want to do, and not just always like at Hollywood Studios. I love Muppets 3D. I'll do it. Muppet Vision 3D. But that's the only thing you can do that's going to be under 10 minutes.
PhilharMagic.
And Magic Kingdom, which we love.
Yeah.
I'm never going to deny PhilharMagic.
But it's those C-ticket or
e-tickets
rides that we're talking about.
Well,
and
I think e-ticket's a big one. So maybe these are A's.
Well, whatever.
I don't know.
The lowest tier are the ones we're talking about, and that's just disappointing.
Yeah, it's just not. Look, I don't want to get into what everyone else has got into, and I'll be another face on here. And if anyone needs me to, the girl gave me the feedback email, so we can write an email to Disney and kind of complain about this. And the good thing that John pointed out, between our annual passes, we do 1, 2, 3 Disney cruises a year. We are now DVC members. Plus all of the merch and food that we do. The amount of money we spend at Disney.
$10,000 a year is a low year for us. Spending $10,000 at Disney in 1 year.
Yeah, it's got to be way more than that.
Yeah, we're way more than that in most years.
So, and I'm not saying, oh, you should give me this pass because I actually need it. And so now with the Premier Pass coming out, everyone is saying, well, this is really what was behind cleaning out the whole DAS thing.
Yeah, and you have to believe that.
It's all a money grab.
Yeah, it's a money grab. And I'm firmly in that camp that's what's happening here, because, we haven't heard of a single person getting a DAS Pass. Maybe they're just staying tight-lipped about it. They're not saying it. They're not advertising it. But all you hear about are people who are getting denied. And now they come out with this, which is, and the woman she talked to the other day specifically said, well, if you want to continue to utilize the park like you used to, then you're going to have to get this multi-pass or whatever the case is. Well, that's upselling to somebody who has a technical disability per the letter of the, what's stated by Disney. So it's just
it's disappointing.
It's very disappointing that they're after. It's purely a money grab for them.
Because it's, for me, and he knows this, since the day we started going to the parks, it was always for me about the attractions. I was always like, we gotta go do this, we gotta go do this, we gotta go do this.
Yep.
Like, that's just the fun part for me. And even if it's not the wild rides, because he doesn't like those as much, the bigger roller coasters and stuff, even though I've gotten him on some of them, it was still like Little Mermaid. That's fun for me. I want to get on Little Mermaid or the People Mover or
Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, I mean, you want to feel like you're in the magic. And yes, you can have some of that walking around on the streets and seeing the characters, but the magic is in those attractions, new and old and everything. And so for those of us that now can't do those, it changes things. And it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this year goes. So we'll see. And I'm going to keep track of, like, again, we can't afford to do the multipass all the time. So it has to be a very special occasion if we're going at night, because it's going to have to be night.
I think what it's going to do is it's going to cut back the number of times you go to the parks even more. Really. Because if we know, especially...
See, that makes me really sad. I don't like that.
I know, and I hate that. That's, we're right now, October, with the cooler weather, we're starting to get into the times where we go. We go once a week, or certainly once every 2 weeks. But if we're only going to go to food booths and non-ride attractions, that's going to get old pretty fast. So if you can't ride rides because of restrictions, whether they're personal or placed on you, whatever the case may be, it limits you in what you can do there. And I think what's probably going to happen is we're just not going to go as often.
It's funny because I said, even when this Premier Pass came out, I said, if they tacked this Premier Pass onto our annual pass and charged me $1,000 for it, I would do it.
Yeah.
To have the freedom to go and ride a ride, not having to do a dance pass, but through this Premier Pass and being able to go through the lightning lane anytime during the year that I want to go and do it, I would do it. And I think a lot of people would. I understand they're going to get more money from people for $100 a day instead of $1,000 for a year, but there has to be, just like the other thing with the Premier Pass right now, is that only hotel guests can get one. Deluxe hotel guests and DVC Villa guests.
Yeah.
When you compare that to Universal, if you stay at a deluxe hotel of theirs, you get their express pass for free.
Yeah.
From checkout to check-in to checkout. And Disney is just only allowing these people to pay the extra $400. Like, they've got to come around. They've got to come around to the way that Universal does it, and figure out some other way to...
Well, at some point, it will start to impact the number of people in the parks, because average families are now getting priced out of it. And to get the bang for your buck, if you're doing the Disney trip, you're now having to spend more money so you can get your kids on the rides they really want to be on. At some point, people aren't going to be, the average person just can't afford to do it.
We'll see.
And that makes me sad too. It's all about the dollar, and I'm very disappointed in Disney for this.
The Dance Pass hit hard, and I think I don't want to dwell on it because there's so many people that are going through it. So I know I'm not alone. I know there's a big movement to try and fix this somehow. And I will join, however, if anyone reaches out and lets us know what we can do, I will. It just is such a bummer. And for people who come in once a year and can't, like, at least we can still go whenever we want to go because we live here.
Yeah.
And when we see the lower wait times, we can possibly, still do stuff. But for people who come once a year and they're not going to be able to do the things that they're used to, I feel for them. This is going to be very interesting. So, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the Premier Pass goes. If you're staying in a deluxe hotel already, paying that kind of money, and then you want to pay another $400 per person per day, I mean, that's incredible.
That's very disappointing.
I hope a travel agent or someone comes out and starts to say, I don't have anyone booking it because they can't afford it. Or the opposite. Everyone's doing it because they want to skip the lines. I just would love to know it doesn't start until the 30th. So the next November, December, I'd love someone to come out and tell us how it's going.
Yeah.
So I'll keep an eye out for other YouTube channels to kind of spill the beans on that.
Oh, spill the beans.
Spill the beans. So that's our ranting for today.
Yep.
Sorry about that, but it was, we did go to Epcot, so we're gonna have another video, and it was a good day. It was because the weather was gorgeous today.
Yeah.
So I had a blast. he tried some new foods, but there was this thing constantly, and I was looking at the wait time still, and I was just it feels weird to leave a park and not even like I never said anything to him about it.
We didn't even have a conversation about trying to get on a ride.
Yeah.
That's how much it impacted.
Because it was very busy too. So
yeah.
that was one reason. Was there even living with the land? Nothing was. Everything was crowded.
And we were there basically 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Which is about our max.
Yeah.
And on our way out, we walked past Spaceship Earth, and it was only like a 10-minute wait. And we looked at that, and we're like, no.
At that point, I had hit my wall already.
We're done, and we couldn't even take advantage of that. So it's, and it's not about, here's the thing, the last point I want to make. I understand Disney feels they have to solve a problem with people abusing the DAS Pass. I get that. Whatever. I'm not going to dive into that. But for her and for us, we used it once or twice a visit.
If even.
Once or twice a month for 3 or 4 months. I mean, we weren't going to the park every day to ride every ride. We were not abusing it. And I would like to think that Disney would figure out a way to kind of look back at your history, because they have all the records of all the times you
who was
scanned
abusing
in,
it and who
how
wasn't,
we used it, and just cut those people some slack. If you're abusing it, fine, crack down on that. But we're swept up in them solving. Well, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're solving a problem. Personally, I think they're solving a problem that didn't exist. And now it really looks to me like they're just making money, trying to make more money.
Yeah, I think, I do think this could get large and, go through the state's attorney general or something, or even the ADA or so. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I hope it does, because they're billing this as a disability access system, and right now nobody is getting it. And we're seeing people in wheelchairs and on respirators.
Yeah.
And, obvious disability, like physical disabilities, that are being told no, and it's kind of like, come on, Disney.
Right. Because I can understand questioning someone like me, because I could just, you want someone who's autistic? I'm going to call up and tell you I'm autistic and give me this pet.
Yeah.
But when you have visual disabilities,
when it's obvious,
it's so surprising. It's just I'm not sure.
It's disappointing. It's just plain disappointing. We like to think of Disney as a good, wholesome company, and this just
inclusive
stinks.
Is what we like to think Disney is, and they are definitely excluding such a huge chunk of people now. And I have heard that the lightning lanes have gone down. Well, of course they have. But that doesn't mean it's the right thing. So anyway,
I'm sorry. I think I kind of dragged you along on my rant, and then you got ranting. So
that's okay.
Let's wrap
we're
this
good.
up.
So we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
That's it. Stay tuned for the Epcot video.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have some cooking videos coming out next week.
I'm gonna try to cook something.
And like I said, we are going to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party the week of Halloween, so we will do that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm tired of hearing myself, so I can only imagine the poor people.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Please subscribe, like this video if you can, and I would love to hear from other people who have been denied, or especially people who have been approved, because I'm a little worried it's like The Good Place and no one's getting approved and we just don't know it.
Right.
But so anyway, thanks to you guys for listening, and we will see you next time. This is still Our Charmed Midlife.
That's right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.